Hey guys, Doug the Michigan Piper coming to you from the Pipe Rest. And today, since it's Friday, we're going to call this, let me get this over here, we're going to call this Freehand Friday. And I got my Dr. Graybo Freehand, which I always kind of like this. I hardly ever smoke this one, but I like it for some reason. In it, I went by the recommendation of John, from John, Average John, to pick up some Smoker's Pride Cherry. And my verdict's still out, John, I'll be honest with you. That's not a bad thing, but to me, I don't think I'm as much of a cherry pipe smoker. But I don't dislike it. Oh, I'm drinking Oktoberfest by Sam Adams. But I'm thinking if I'm in the mood for cherry, this would be good. I just don't think I'm as much of a cherry smoker. I can tell you that it kind of tastes like Colt Blood Red Moon without the chocolate notes and not as much depth. Having said that, that's like saying, Ferrari doesn't go as fast as a Lamborghini. It doesn't mean the Ferrari's not fast, So it's good. If you like cherry blends, I think you'd like it. I just started a pipe, so we'll see. Good room note. Anyway, I was watching some videos today and saw that I think it was Hiking Pipes had done a VR and I missed it. And he wanted to know a time you were scared, I guess. And I can't remember whose I was watching. Oh, it was Sam from Doing It Wrong. And I thought, man, what a good subject for a video, for a VR. And I thought, I'm going to go ahead and do that. Not that I could get into the GAW, but just a good subject, really. I like those deep subjects for the GAWs instead of the, hey, what tobacco do you like? But it got me thinking, well, what was a time in my life when I was scared? And there's been plenty for different reasons. But the one I thought about the most was a fire that I was in. And guys, I'm not, everybody kind of puts firefighters in the same boat, and I will tell you, if you're a Chicago firefighter, Chicago City or Chicago firefighter, and you are a rural volunteer firefighter, you may fight fires completely different. There's a lot that we do that's the same because of obviously safety issues, and they just, test of time has proven certain ways do better than others. However, there's also some differences in how you attack them, though. For instance, if I'm on a New York fire, I come into shift that day, and I know what seat I'm riding in. I know what the job is for that seat. I know who I'm reporting to. I know who's going to show up behind me, in front of me, and with me. You go to ABC Rural Fire Department, that's completely volunteer. You have no idea who's showing up with you. You have no idea who's going to be your boss. You have no idea if you're going to be the boss or not. And usually have a lot longer response times because it's so much more spread out. So I told you all that to tell you that anything I ever say on this channel about firefighting is not because I think my way is the best way or because I think I've got it all figured out. That's definitely not the case. But the fire I'm about to talk about, I came in off duty. I always did, because I love to fight fire. And that's been my hobby, my hobby for, going on 25 years now or more. And so anytime I had a chance to fight fire, I was on it. We weren't on a department that was fighting a structure fire every day or anything like that. So anytime I had a chance to get in a structure fire, especially in extrication, I was there. And this particular fire had started earlier in the day on a wood pile on the outside of a two-story house. And you have to figure my throat, guys. I'm a little gravelly today. I've been up since about 3:20 this morning, and I think my throat's giving out. But anyway, so we had called this structure fire. I missed the first fire. It was just a wood pile fire, and they thought they put it out, and they had not. Which is funny, because in the fire service, if you get called back to the same fire, they call it a rekindle. And truly, it's not a rekindle, so you didn't put it out the first time. So the second tone we got was for a structure fire. So I showed up, and of course it's rip roaring. And what I didn't know at the time was that the fire had started on the outside, obviously, where the wood pile was at, and worked its way into the structure before anybody found it. So a buddy of mine, who I still to this day respect, I'll just call him Bill, respect tremendously. Him and I both had a line, both had a hose line. He had a partner, and I had a partner, because you're always going with at least two guys. And are you going, two guys going no less than two. You're never going by yourself. And what I didn't know, though, is Bill was on a neighboring city fire department. So he came off with the crew off his engine. And since I had showed up by myself, I just tagged up with the first guy I saw. Tagged up meaning, we have tags for accountability reasons. And I took a rookie in. And I didn't realize how rookie he was. He had just finished school. And somebody said, "Here, Doug, take this guy." So I did. And it wasn't for a joke, they knew I was ready to go, and this guy and I went in. Well, what I didn't know was somebody had told him to feed me the hose. So he stopped at the front door and never went any further. And if you know me, one of the ways to set me off is to leave your partner. You want to see me hot, you want to see me just boiling mad, lead me in a fire. You better hop in the car and keep driving. And that doesn't go just for me, it goes for anybody. Leave somebody in a fire, and I'm going to be, it's not a pretty scene. And so anyway, but this kid was brand new, so I didn't hold it against him. He didn't know any better. He should have, he just got out of school, but we had to talk about it, and lesson learned type thing. So Bill came in right behind me with his line, his teammate, and I just barreled in. I thought this kid was behind me, and when I glanced back one time, and I just figured he was pulling hose and he'd be up before I knew it. And so this was, even though it was one of the scaredest I've ever been in a fire, it was also one of the funnest fires I've ever fought. Because the fire was mainly in between the floors and on the upper level. And as you come in the front door, I knew the fire was pretty much upstairs. Well, you go in through the living room and you take a right to go up the stairs, and then halfway up the stairs turn and double back on themselves. And well, I got up to the landing where it doubles back, and there's fire all on the walls. Well, what it was there was like a kind of a lean-to or a built-on part of the house just past that, and that's where that wood pile was, and it had burned up into that lean-to area on the outside of the wall I was standing on. And it had breached the wall, so I put it out as I'm coming up, and I'm shoving the nozzle in, and I'm putting the fire on both sides, and I couldn't believe the amount of fire I had, and how well I was putting it out by myself. And it was just a fun time for me. I was just having a blast. So I get that done, and then I notice the kid's not behind me, but it's like, you know what, I'm going to pull a hose anyway because I didn't want Bill coming up behind me beating me because he's my buddy, and you can never let your buddy beat you, right? So we get to the top of the stairs, and as I got that put out, got to the top of the stairs, and I looked at Bill because he came up right next to me with his line. I'm like, Bill, you go right, I'll go left. He said, okay. And so I turned left, and there was no fire at that point. It's pretty smoky, but there's no fire ahead of me. And I was moving fast because I knew we had to get ahead of this fire. And I got to the doorway of a bedroom at the end of the hall. And keep in mind, I am humping this hose. I am yanking on it for all I'm worth because I've wrapped this thing up the stairwell. And unbeknownst, this poor kid is at the door just, 100 feet away from me trying to feed me hose. He has no idea where I'm going, which is much like my first fire. But anyway, so I get to the doorway and I get in, there's some fire in this room, and I put the fire out and I go to barge forward, and that's when I hit the end of my hose. And I was so excited, and it was a mistake, guys. I mean, I don't want to make it sound like, yeah, I went in there and I tore it up, because I tore the fire up, but I was doing it in a very I was a little too aggressive and wasn't keeping my situational awareness in check. And so anyway, I started barreling forward, and I hit the end of that line. There was no more line to feed me, and I had so much forward momentum that my body kept moving, and I couldn't hang onto the hose, and I tumbled into the middle of the room. And I remember thinking to myself, the first thought was, "Oh, you idiot! Get up and get your hose." But the problem is you can't see anything. And so I hit the floor, kind of righted myself, and now I'm down on my hands and knees because it's not the best of conditions. And I thought to myself, I reached out, I couldn't find the nozzle, and I'm like, I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble. And Bill's nowhere close. Him and his partner at the other end of the house, because they've got fire because I was all along that side of the house. So they're taking care of what they got going on. They have no clue that I've been in the position I am, and so I find a wall, and in the fire service we have what's called a mayday, just like when a plane's going down, mayday, mayday, mayday. As a fire chief, or a guy that's in charge of the scene, it's the last thing that you want to hear. What that means is your guys are in trouble and they can't help themselves. And what I'm glad to see nowadays, as opposed to this, which was 15 years ago or more, they're starting to preach now more that, hey, don't be ashamed to call a mayday. Get the mayday out there. Get help. Know when to call a mayday. Well, I hadn't had that training yet, and it wasn't that I was too prideful to call the mayday, as much as it was I was so worried about saving my own neck, I didn't think about there's plenty of help outside. So I tumble into the room, I right myself, I look around, can't find the nozzle, and I knew from my training I got to find a wall. If I can find a wall, then I can find a corner. If I can find a corner, I can find a door or a window and work my way out. So I found a wall, and it just turned out that the wall that because once I tumbled, I had no idea which direction was which. I couldn't even go back to the doorway, because I don't have a very good internal compass as it is. And so the wall that I found was, as you're entering the room, would be the wall to the left, which is where the fire was at, just past that wall. And so I got to that wall, and just by chance or divine intervention, I took a left. If I'd have taken a right, it had taken me much longer, and I would have been in deeper trouble. But I took a left, which what that did was it took me to a corner, and then it took me back to my hose in the doorway. And I found my hose it felt like about 5 or 10 minutes, and it was probably a minute, if that. But when you got all that going on, the noise and everything else, it's it's a little nerve-wracking. And I never really stopped working. I never really stopped like, okay, this is it. This might be my time. I just remember being scared. It's like, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no. And I found the hose, got back on it, and put out what fire I could, because like I said, I was at the end of my line, so I couldn't go any further. I called for some more hose, but I will tell you that was a pretty big pucker moment for me. That was, my life didn't flash before my eyes. I didn't think of my family or anything like that. I've had some moments like that, where that came to pass, but for some reason this time I was a little bit more scared. I think it was because it's almost like a baby or a toddler with a pacifier. It's, if they got their pacifier, even though that pacifier is not going to do anything for them, which is funny, I say pacifier and I'm shoving a pipe in my mouth. Even though that pacifier is not going to do anything for them, it makes them feel comfortable. And as a firefighter, having that nozzle, it will do things for you. Obviously, you can use it to either protect yourself or extinguish a fire, or both, or rescue somebody by putting a fire out. But as a firefighter, having that hose, having that nozzle in your hand is a lot like having a pacifier for a toddler. So getting that taken away from me and tumbling into the room and not having any idea what direction was up. You can't see anything. It's nighttime. There's no lights on. Room's full of smoke. You hear the fire burning. But I guess you'd be surprised at what goes on in your head. Because things slow down, and I've watched and studied some cases where other guys have gotten in trouble and they've lived to tell about it. And there's this period where you get to where it's a slowdown, and you just, everything's going 100 miles a minute, but at the same time, it's like you're living another life in your mind, and it's a pretty interesting experience to be in. So I made it out, came out, I with the kid, and I'm like, where were you at? And he had no idea, and by the time it was all over, the guys had explained to him he should have been in there with me, so he felt bad enough. I wasn't going to jump all over him, but I just realized, guys, it's 18 minutes into this video. I should let you go, but that's my moment. That was one of the moments when I was pretty scared. So, guys, I'm going to cut her off there. John, not too bad. Not my everyday smoke, but not horrible either. So, guys, I hope you're all doing well. Until next time, you take care.